information in the evidence that leans in that direction anyway. I mean, we already know about the Trump Tower meeting. We know about Manafort giving Kalimnik polling data. We want to hear more details about that. We want to hear all the details and whatever else that they came up with. And I think the Democrats are probably betting that there's a lot of damaging, politically damaging information in the Mueller report, even if it didn't rise to the level of something that's chargeable.
Yeah, so that's definitely going to be something worth looking at, and something to know really further about the president is all these kind of pieces of information that we've seen kind of like eating away at him. And a lot of people think that, a lot of people wonder that pretty much all the candidates who have been, the people close to Trump, like whatever they've been indicted for, related or accused of, or charged in court for, related to collusion or Trump in any way, has been mostly around the act of lying to some kind of investigative group or other. And the question is, and this one, I mean, I'm probably you don't have an answer for it, but as to like your best guess is, like, why do you think, I'm really at a loss for this one. If they haven't committed a crime, no one's been able to catch them of committing any kind of collusion, as we saw, they just got cleared of it. But why do they keep lying, like Manafort, Flynn, other people? Why do they keep lying if there is supposedly they did nothing wrong? It just does not make any sense to me, for the love of God.
Well, it's not really that they didn't do something wrong. It's just that they didn't. It's just that they didn't break any laws. I mean, there's wrongful actions that do not rise to the level of unlawfulness. The fact that they were talking to so many Russian officials during the campaign is quite unusual. And there was some kind of hanky-panky going on, even if it wasn't considered conspiracy. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So they probably lied because they felt in their gut that they were doing something wrong and needed to hide it.
Yeah, that definitely is interesting. But I mean, it would have been probably better for them if they've just like lawyered up, and kind of been able to say, like, this is not going to be able to prove collusion in the court. Why can't we just be completely and fully honest? Maybe because they wanted to kind of like protect the president, and it would look bad for him maybe if they did that. But I mean, if they like really revealed how many contacts with the Russians him and his associates have been having, that could be some part of it, I guess.
Yes, and I think that different prosecutors might have behaved differently. I mean, it's possible. The law here is kind of squishy, and so what's considered conspiracy in one person's mind might not be conspiracy in another's. So that might be the reason. Even if they had lawyered up, they probably probably had good reason to lie, just to try to keep on the safe side. Even though it turned out they got caught and they looked very guilty.
Yeah. I mean, it's very. And maybe they probably had to think about like their careers or something or other of that nature. But yeah, ultimately though, a half dozen former Trump aides were indicted or convicted of crimes, mostly again for conspiracy and lying to get investigators. 25 Russian intelligence operatives and experts in social media manipulation were charged last year, in 2 extraordinarily detailed indictments released by the special counsel. The inquiry concluded without charging any Americans for conspiracy with the Russian campaign. That's a pretty damning thing for a lot of people who've been saying, "Oh, there is collusion for so long." And the report will again bring closure to some people who've really been watching this for a long time. A lot of liberals, kind of bringing to light household names of people like George Papadopoulos and all that. How many minds have changed though is another matter. Opinions have hardened really over time, and Americans have already convinced that they knew the answers before Mueller submitted the conclusions. Some believe the special counsel's previous indictments, twin with voluminous media reporting, have already shown a conspiracy between the Trump campaign. Some believe, obviously, that it is a witch hunt. It just does kind of represent a polarization of our country. And Mueller's work, of course, has proceeded in the face of attacks by Trump and his allies. But, I mean, the question is, and I really want to kind of blister now that we know a lot about the report, what's next on that, how both sides really have been responding to it. Let's start with the Trump side first is, we talked about what Trump said, but Don Jr., I follow this account on my Twitter account, at SBW272, is a kind of a bot that says, like, Trump liked this tweet, Trump Jr. liked this tweet. Like, all he's been liking is, we need to hold the conspiracy truthers accountable, the people who attacked the president. And like that to me just seems to be very disturbing. I don't know about you, but where do you think we're headed for in the future with possibly another investigation into the people who push this or push for like an investigation on this?
I don't know. I mean, the people who push for the investigation are, Rosenstein and McCabe. They're both Republicans, but that doesn't stop the president from attacking people, even if they're from his own party. I mean, we see what he does with John McCain.
Yeah.
And then, of course, he can attack the media as well. But it's hard to blame the media when you hear about all the stuff that came out publicly. It looked incriminating. Taking a meeting in Trump Tower with Russians to discuss dirt that they had on Hillary Clinton, watering down the Republican platform as it pertains to Ukraine, and those are just a couple of things that came off the top of my head. All these secret back channels that they were trying to establish with Russians. It looks bad.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like so many of these things, again, looks bad, and it's hard to really come to a full conclusion on. And like, do you think there will be any kind of like what will there be? It's just so hard to know. Like, what kind of like retaliation will be coming in the way? That's something we're going to have to do. I mean, there's a possibility of pardons, but just kind of as a question of clarification, like Paul Manafort, he's going to be at least facing some time in prison, at least for some of this. Like, Trump can't pardon him because he's going to get a state trial. Is that correct?
Yeah, he's been charged in New York State.
Yeah, so yeah, I think something for probably the tax. Was it the tax fraud, right?
They were different laws, state laws that were broken for basically the same crimes that he was charged for federally. And I guess the New York State prosecutors think they can skirt around the double jeopardy rule by charging different crimes.
Yeah, and
we'll see if that holds up.
Yeah, I think especially now that Trump is like feeling so vindicated, I think there's definitely a case to be made that he feels like way more emboldened to go after and pardon people, maybe like Manafort or I don't know, Michael Flynn maybe, and kind of clear their records, because at least the people have stayed loyal to him. We'll say not Michael Cohen, but like other people. Then that's another disturbing thing.
Yeah, he could. I mean, and I think that the best this is going to be is right now, like right after this summary report that Barr just gave out. I think that once the Democrats in the committees in the House start investigating more, and I think once the full Mueller report comes out, if it comes out, then I think that the news for Trump is going to start getting worse again politically, even though he's not going to be charged. I think there's going to be enough, wrongdoing in the report that's going to be damning to his campaign and probably to him as well.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see what comes out from the further revelations of the Mueller report. And where do we expect? Where are you expecting kind of most of it to come out of? Like what areas of this like inquiry? Maybe with the obstruction of justice, or more the collusion side of what he was investigating.
I think both, but probably more so the collusion. I just, for some reason, I just have a sense that Mueller probably uncovered even things that were not publicly reported that deal with collusion. Other, more Russian contacts, for example.
Yeah.
Things that just don't look kosher. But again, didn't rise to the level of conspiracy.
What's going to be interesting? Continue.
I mean, like for example, all the stuff surrounding the NRA. He probably looked into that to some extent. Well, maybe not if it's not Russia related. That might have gotten farmed out. But the stuff with the Seychelles meeting, it feels like we need to learn more about that, and I imagine Mueller was able to figure more out about that than has been publicly reported.
But do we know if you looked into that?
We don't know. But since Prince met with a Russian, I suspect he did.
So yeah, that'll be interesting, because I definitely feel like that Seychelles they were discussing like establishing back channels, right, for that Seychelles meeting with like some Saudi guy or Arab guy who like set it up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't know if it was just for that purpose or whether they were talking about something more specific, whether it was, somehow business related or
dirt related.
We don't know.
Yeah. It'll be.
I mean, George Nader, who is also kind of, mixed up with that Brody guy, and who was this political operative who works for foreign governments to try to influence our own government. He's been cooperating all along with Mueller, and we don't know a thing about what he's been telling Mueller. None of that's come out in public reporting. So everything we learn about from him that Mueller learned should be in his report, and so that could be interesting stuff too.
Yeah, so yeah, there's definitely a lot of new stuff to possibly look for, but I mean, on the face of it, we got to be completely honest. There is definitely no collusion on this, and that's going to mean a lot of kind of emotional distress for a lot of Americans who have been really following this for a good amount of time and possibly hoping, quote, presidency wrecking, unquote, conspiracy charges, or anything that would meet the layman's definition pretty much of collusion with Russia. And that's what Matt Taibbi wrote, very interesting and a pretty widely shared article. And yeah, he's been, along with some other people, even on the left, have kind of been Russiagate skeptical from the very beginning of the situation. And that's, I think that's definitely something worth listening to today. And I do want to kind of ask you about like some of the contentions, the points that they make here. Yeah, so and he talks really interestingly about the special prosecutor literally became kind of a religious figure during the last few years, with kind of votive candles sold in his image and Saturday Night Live cast members singing "All I Want for Christmas Is You," featuring the line "Mueller, please come through because the only option is a coup." So yeah, I mean, all that kind of stuff is a little disturbing, and you can only imagine how people who've like really they bought the candles, they like pray to the kind of the Mueller shrine, how may they be feeling right now? And that, as along with pop culture, along with people like on, I gotta be honest, on MSNBC, someone on the New York Times as well, kind of been like pushing this image, is it really is, in my opinion, it's damaging to the media who really kind of put all their eggs in one basket, pushing this Russia collusion narrative, and now that it turns out to be kind of empty, it's not great in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, it's not great. And of course, the president is going to play it for all it's worth.
Yeah,